Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news as a mysterious Cunha injury rocks Manchester United's preparation for the game against Everton on Monday night. We'll be talking about the very latest around that one because United aren't commenting, but there is something going on. We've also got the latest on a Ruben Neves transfer. A very interesting day in the Premier League for Man United as well. We've dropped down to 10th, but it could be looking really good on Monday night if and when we win. Also want to talk about a couple of midfield targets that I watched for Man United. I watched today. Hopefully they will be coming to Manchester United. And of course, it's an 8 o'clock show. It's good to be back in the 8 o'clock share. This is my first 8 o'clock show live since last Sunday. So it's good to be back with you. Remember, you drive the show on an 8 o'clock show. So if you want to get some comments in, we have Comment of the Evening that drives the best debate. Get those comments in. And a warm welcome to Milton, who is our latest member of the United Stand Members Club. Thanks for getting your badge in, pal, and joining the Members Club. Right, let's start off with this Cunha story. So effectively, this, so Altrincham Christmas lights switch on tonight. Cunha was meant to be there to turn them on. They've put a statement out saying that, unfortunately, because of an accident or a medical issue in training today, Cunha can't attend to turn the Christmas lights on. So I think it's actually coming in from Altrincham County Council to say that Cunha can't be there turning the Christmas tree lights on because of an injury in training this morning. Man United, on the other hand, haven't commented. This is what Simon Stone in the BBC had to say. United have not yet confirmed any further details on whether this will affect Cunha's availability for the Everton match. BBC Sport has contacted United for comments. It is understood that the appearance was not arranged through the club. So effectively, they're saying that, he was meant to be at this festive extravaganza, visit Altrincham. Have said that due to medical reasons, he had an accident in training and he cannot attend. Now, look, maybe he's caught his finger in a door and he can't flick the switch. It's never a dull day at Manchester United, is it? And we've been doing this for 10 years and it never is a dull day. There's always a story that you don't think is going to happen. And here we have it again. So I don't know. Nobody knows. The mind boggles. If you can't attend an event to turn a Christmas tree light on, I mean, you could literally turn up in a wheelchair and turn the lights on. So is it something bad? Is it United didn't know about it and have said you can't do it and they've come up with an excuse? I don't know. It feels a little bit farcical, if I'm being completely honest. It feels like he won't miss the game on Monday night. But then you're sort of like, he might miss the game on Monday night. Is this another injury headache for Manchester United? And Jat says it could just be an excuse from Cunha because he doesn't fancy it. So we don't know the details of the injury. We don't know the extent of the injury. All we actually know is that he was meant to be turning some Christmas tree lights on, and his excuse not to do it is he's picked up an injury. Now, we'll all know on Monday night whether he really had an injury or whether we couldn't be asked to turn the Christmas lights on. Hopefully, with all due respect to Altrincham, he just couldn't be asked to turn up and turn the Christmas lights on, and he'll be fine on Monday night. Obviously, we do have to play devil's advocate. If this was an injury that keeps him out for a couple of weeks, it wouldn't be his first. It would be his second injury of the season already. And it comes at a time where we can't really afford any injuries in the attack, because if for whatever reason Cunha couldn't play on Monday night, we also don't have Sesko. So I would imagine the front three would have to be Mount, Xerxes and Mbeumo, which I still think is good enough to get the job done. But hopefully, someone just said he's just posted something on Instagram. It's all happening here. It's all happening here. Let me have a quick look. I'm doing very well on Instagram, so this is a big plug. Check out at Goldbridge Mark there. But let's have a look. Cunha. He's on Instagram. He's got 2.6 million followers. And he hasn't posted anything on there. There's nothing on there. That was from the 30th of October, 11th of November, 15th of November, Oh no, 21 hours ago, a picture of him. No, there's nothing on there. There's nothing on his story that's recent. 21 hours ago. No. Ultra says, if he plays on Monday, we all know his character, which is scandalous, really, not turning up to put Christmas lights on. And he is laughing. Yeah. Basically, I think we're just going to have to wait and see on this, but hopefully. Rising Kid says, after that performance against Liverpool, Anderson needs to be the target. Well, I'm going to talk about Elliot Anderson in a little bit as well. But look, let's wait and see what happens with Cunha. I think we all need to just have fingers crossed and hopefully that he's hurt his finger and he just can't do the light switch, because if we lose Cunha at this juncture, what I'm trying to say is I don't want to be in a situation whereby these next 10 games that are massively winnable for Manchester United, I don't want us to be in a position where we blow it because we don't have, we start suffering from injuries. And I did say that in the summer before the season started. We haven't sorted out our injury issues overnight with the fitness department, and we will pick up injuries. There is the league table anyway. That should have been on from the start. Apologies. So we've actually dropped down today, but I did warn you, we will drop down the table because we're not playing till Monday. If we'd played today and won, we would be fourth because we'd have 21 points. Obviously, Spurs and Villa have got to play tomorrow as well, but that's looking quite healthy for us. I mean, one game's not going to change anything anyway, but okay, Brighton won, but if we win, we go above them. Palace won. If we win, we go above them. Man City dropped points. Liverpool are in the bottom half of the table because they lost as well. Obviously, Chelsea won, but, I'd expect them to be in the top four. Bournemouth drew. That was good for us. I don't think Spurs are going to win tomorrow, and Villa go to Leeds. So we could be, on Monday night, fourth in the league with 21 points. So that's looking good. That is looking good, I think. And we'll only have ourselves to blame if we're not in fourth on Monday night, which would be a great way to start this run of games that we want to win. So, as I say, on the Cunha thing, we'll have to wait and see what happens with it. Hopefully it's nothing significant because there is cover. We are obviously going to lose Mbeumo and Ahmad and Mazraoui in about 2 or 3 weeks. Just on that, actually, I don't know whether anyone saw that today. Manchester United, let me just get I'd forgotten myself, so I wouldn't expect you lot to necessarily have seen it, but let me just bring this in as well. Manchester United are attempting to delay the AFCON departures of Mbeumo, Ahmad and Mazraoui. Tournament regulation means that the release should be 2 weeks before the first games, and that would mean letting them leave around the Premier League game with Wolves at Molineux on the 8th of December. But United want all three available for this fixture. With regards to the league, with regards to Manchester United fixtures, of course, we are expecting to lose them for some games. But there was some talk. Well, we play Wolves on the Monday night on the 8th. Then we played Bournemouth on the 15th, and we play Villa on the 21st. There was talk of us having them for Bournemouth and maybe even the Villa game, because I think a lot of their games are actually that week. But we don't want to be losing them for the Wolves game away because that's an away game as well. Bournemouth at home. This is why it's really important that we get Sesko back as soon as possible and that Cunha's injury isn't significant, because I think without Ahmad and Mbeumo, you can easily go Delo right wing back, Mount drops in. But if you don't have Cunha as well and you don't have Sesko, I don't want to be in a position where for the Wolves game we don't have Mbeumo, Cunha or Sesko, and we're relying on Mount to be fit. So let's hope that we can get some special dispensation there, because I know we knew about the AFCON and Ahmad and Amorim said that, but I think at this moment in time we definitely want to try and keep Mbeumo and Ahmad for as long as possible, certainly. But yeah, as I said, today hasn't been a bad day for Manchester United, and I think I do agree with the comment that came. I think it was a super chat from Rising Kid. No, a member, Rising Kid, talking about Elliot Anderson. I'm sure many of you did watch the That's Football watch along at 3 o'clock today. Liverpool against Forest. A fantastic result for Forest at Anfield. Following the footsteps of United, winning there. However, I thought Elliot Anderson was magnificent again, standout player again. There's good and bad to that. It verifies the validation that this is the right midfield for us to be going for. Look, it could have been 1-0 to Liverpool in the first few minutes and he blocked it with his head. But obviously, throughout the game, there's so much more to him than tackling and blocking. It's passing, it's driving. I thought it was a fantastic performance from him, much the same as it was against us a few weeks ago. So he's the real deal, isn't he? He is the real deal. And apparently, I haven't double checked this, but apparently Baleba was the person that gave the goal, the penalty away for Brentford today, and then got hooked at half-time. So again, I repeat what I say. Why is it Man United are so obsessed with Baleba because they wanted him in the summer and they still believe he's the right player? He's playing absolute shit. And I said this yesterday. I said this last night. Like, why are we so obsessed with Baleba? He is not playing well. And at some point, you've got to say, mate, you're not playing well. If you want to come to Man United, you need to start playing well. And I'm sure that's been said to him, and he's actually getting worse. He was absolutely shit today. Subbed at half-time, cost them a penalty. Is this the player we should be looking at? At what point are we going, you know, this is the perfect person for me, even though they swear at everybody, they don't brush their teeth. You know, I know that's about relationships, but this is about a footballer that's going into a very important position, and he's giving us evidence that he ain't up to it. He's not. I don't understand why people are going, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. It doesn't matter. It does bloody matter. Week in, week out, he's playing shit. He was bloody awful against us. Awful. And he's awful again. I thought he was a brilliant player last season, but we can't sign doubts anymore. We can't sign red flags anymore. We've got to go for right mentality, consistency, week in, week out. And I look at Elliot Anderson at the moment, and I suppose Adam Wharton's the same, Stiller. And I think, yeah, I get it. Maybe even João Gomez at Wolves. I don't know. I'd have to, you know, have more of a look at him. But have we dodged a bullet with Baleba? Because I don't know. But the noise out of United is that they, despite the bad performances, they think he's the right man for Manchester United. You know what I think? I think he's desperate to sign for us. I think he's not playing in the World Cup. I think, you know, it'll be very difficult to get Stiller or Anderson or Wharton. So you're going for the easy, cheap option, and you're going to package it up as your first choice. Because let's be very clear, Baleba will want to come to United in the summer. We'll be able to be negotiating with Brighton from June the 1st, and we can take weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks doing it. So I just think now, at this moment in time, and it can change, of course it can change, but at this moment in time, it looks to me like Baleba is just the easy option, and he's the wrong option. It flies in the face of everything we're meant to be looking to do. Value for money, hard-working players who are consistent. And there is just no excuse for it anymore. I actually can't, I couldn't believe it when somebody said he was hooked at half-time and cost them a goal. So I think we've got to look at that very, 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 very clearly. Because it's not looking like the right option at the moment. Interestingly as well, get your comments in, of course, but there was a story this morning. I was meant to bring it into the morning show and I completely missed it. Another midfielder that I do think it's worth bringing in because it does make sense in many ways with regards to what Man United might be trying to do. Manchester United have been given renewed hope in their attempts to sign Ruben Neves from Al Hilal as soon as January. A deal worth 18 million is on the table, which is seen as a lower price as some of their other midfield targets reported. Newcastle are also interested in the Portuguese international. Now, this is coming from courtoffside.com, which has obviously worked with people like Ben Jacobs and Fabrizio Romano. And I suppose you've got to throw that name in because Portuguese, midfield, profile of player that might be something Man United are looking for. Age profile probably goes against him a little bit, but he is, let me have a look how old he is. 28, be 29 in March. To me, that's, no. I agree with Kin. 29 in March, I don't really see that. I don't think United are going to do that. I don't think we're going to go for players over 26. I think it's a hard line in the sand, and we've not done it. We've not done it. I can't remember the last. There's a quiz question. Who was the last player we signed who was over 26? Have we actually signed a player over 26 since Ineos have been here? Because Mazraoui wasn't, De Ligt wasn't, Yoro wasn't, Xerxes wasn't, Dorgu wasn't. No one in the player was. No one in the summer was. So I don't think we've bought a player over 26 since Ineos came in. And the last player we did who was over 26 was probably Onana. So, look, Ruben Neves might be interesting because of the Portuguese connection, and I might be interested in doing a loan deal in January, but I'd do Conor Gallagher as a loan deal because there's an obligation to potentially buy him in the summer. With Ruben Neves, that would be a short-term loan deal, and you go in stopgap again as well. We were close to signing Watkins as Archit. Yes, and look, I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. I'm saying I don't think we will do it because I think Ineos have put this barrier up to anybody who's over 26, and I think that's wrong. I do think it's wrong. I think if you could get Kimmich for 2 years, would you do the deal? There's probably loads of players who are 27, 28, 29, 30 that you would take at Man United. I mean, would you not take Rodri because he's over 26? So there will be players out there that could bring an amazing amount of experience. But I've said to you before, we are obsessed with Chelsea. I said to you back in March, straight from the training ground, there is an obsession with Chelsea in the hierarchy of Manchester United. They like the Chelsea model of buying young so that if it doesn't work out, you can at least get your money back. I personally think that we do need some experience in the team. And the goalkeeper and the striker would be two I would be looking at, regardless of whether Lemens is our number one. I still think you need a bit of experience alongside him. Rodri's at City, Mark. Yeah, I know, Dan. I don't want Rodri. What I'm saying is there are some very good players out there who are over 27 who would be massively improving our team. Emily Derry says, Baleba appears to be the lazy option. We may have done the legwork last summer and he may have been the right choice, but we have to be able to pivot. Exactly. I think that Jadon Sancho always comes to mind in relation to stubbornness to stick to the target that you wanted. It's a bit like being at a buffet and, on the menu, you can see that there is a baked Alaska. And then when you go up to get it, there's flies on it. It's melted. It doesn't look that great. But you go, I want a baked Alaska. Like, the reality is, with Baleba, I think we've got to open our eyes up now. I don't see we're nearly at the end of November. August, September, October, November, I can count. 4 months, he's been crap. He's not even had a game in there. I mean, he might have had an okay game, but he's not had a brilliant game once this season. So I think he's been subbed off before the 60th minute in nearly every game. So you've got to look at it. And United just can't. I think the Baleba bubble has burst. And unless he can inflate it again, and even if he could inflate it, should we ignore the first 4 months of the season? Even if he has a good end to the season, should we ignore the fact that he's capable of doing that? I think there is a lot that United have said about the mentality of players that they want to bring in, and I'd be concerned that Baleba doesn't have that mentality at the moment. Thank you, Emily, for your super chat anyway. He could bounce back, but not with us. The pressure at Man United is huge, and it goes wrong. He's just going to go missing. Can't be our first choice, says John. And also, whoever we sign, whether it's Elliot Anderson, Adam Wharton, Angelo Stiller, or Carlos Baleba, whoever we sign comes with a huge expectation that this is such a... Because we haven't solved the midfield issue, whoever the next midfielder is under pressure. Because you've got to come in and solve the issue. There's no patience. It's not like you can come in and take your time. Eventually you'll replace Roy Keane and Paul Scholes. You're coming into a hole. And you've got to fill it. Anyway, they have. And there is an added pressure to that. There is also the fact that they're going to cost a lot of money. They won't be cheap. And they'll come on a long contract. So if we buy a midfielder, they come in with loads of expectation. They have a big hole to fill, and they'll be on a big contract. And if that goes wrong, you're stuck with that mistake again, like we have been with flops in the past. KKS says Lee Sharp is the only player in history and probably in ever having his name on the front and back. A fun fact for you. Yeah, and a true fact. Thank you. Recon guy says I'm an idiot. What's happened to Sesko? I mean, you probably are one of the only people on the planet who support Man United who don't know what's happened to Sesko. I feel like I'm only talking to you. He got injured in the last few minutes of the Spurs game with a knee injury and is out for a few weeks. Brian and Stuff says, if we get rid of Maguire, Bruno, Rashi, Sancho, Casemiro, we save 1.5 million a week. 78 million a year. Pays for Elliot Anderson and then some. Sheesh. Well, I don't know how accurate those figures are. Harry Maguire's about 200k a week. Bruno's about 300k a week, so that's 400. Sancho's about 250, that's 650. Rashford's about another 300, that's 950. And Casemiro's 350. So I make it 1.3 million. But that just shows you the amount of ridiculous wages we've paid. And that is a considerable amount of money in wages, of course it is. After that performance against Liverpool, Anderson needs to be our target. Thank you very much. I've caught up with the super chats. Get yours in if you want them to be read out. João Gomez and Semenyo January, both or one of them, says Seb. I don't want Semenyo. Maybe it's because I know Man United don't want Semenyo, but I don't want Semenyo anyway. He's a very, very good player, but it doesn't satisfy the itch. It doesn't fill the void. He's a very good player, but I'm happy with Mbeumo and Cunha and Ahmad. I don't need another player like that. You know, would I say no to Michael Olise at the moment? Only an idiot would. But we don't need Semenyo. I think he's a good player. I'm not saying he's not a good player, but we don't need him. I don't want him. I want another striker. I want 2 midfielders. That's what I want. They're the 3. And I don't think we're going to get 3 in January. We might not even get 1. So for me, an experienced striker preferably, but definitely a striker, and 2 midfielders. They're the 3 priorities for me. Spending £60 million on Semenyo when we don't really have a lot of money, I just think, why? Doesn't mean United wouldn't do it. They're not going to do it, by the way, but it doesn't mean, you know, I said last week, I like Adeyemi. And if that's on the plan, fine, but let's get the real problems solved first. We definitely need another striker and we definitely need 2 midfielders. But it's interesting what Romano said last week. I'm holding my hands up. He did say Man United want a quick, dynamic, exciting 10/winger. So, yeah, we may well go for one, but surely we've got to solve the midfield first. Maguire goes, Ineos should be all over the Gehi deal, says Ross McRae Magician. I mean, I never really... I was in Central Park, and I did say in the Central Park section that I was going to talk about Gehi, and then I sort of didn't. So I will here. I saw us get linked to Gehi, and I just don't think it will happen. I absolutely think he's brilliant, and I think he'd be a brilliant signing. I think he's going to Liverpool. I think he wanted Liverpool, Liverpool wanted him, and Palace put the blockers on. I don't really think he's going to change his mind about a club that wanted him, went for him. It's a bit like us with Van Nistelrooy. We wanted Van Nistelrooy. He had a bad knee injury at PSV, and Sir Alex Ferguson said, we'll wait for you. We'll wait for you and we'll buy you. And that's what we did. And I think Van Nistelrooy really appreciated that. I imagine it's the same with Gehi and Liverpool. I think he knows they want him. It was Palace who blocked it, and I think he'll still go there. I don't know why we've been linked to him. I don't think he. I'm not 100% sure on whether he's right or left-footed. I know he plays on the left-hand side of Palace's defence, but I'm not sure whether he actually is left-footed. He's right-footed. I mean, he can play left side of the defence. But I get the feeling Amorim actually wants a left-footed centre-back. Seems like the new SCR rules is favourable for us, says Maddie. I think they're as favourable as they are now. I think there was talk of them being a little bit more restrictive. But Man United aren't restricted by FFP anyway. Man United are restricted by the Glazers. I think anybody who's looking at financial fair play rules or PSR or SCR or whatever you want to call it, sounds like we're selling furniture, DFS. But the point I'm making is that the only restriction we have is the owners. Look at Todd Bowley at Chelsea. Smaller ground, less revenue, spends $2 billion in 2 years. So the only restriction we really have are the owners. I don't really think we can ever look and get excited about financial fair play rules, whether they help us or not. We're still a club paying tens of millions of pounds of debt interest every year. Debt interest. We don't clear the debt. We pay the interest on the debt. So there we go. What a great day it was today. City and Liverpool lose and Man United didn't lose, says J. Dot. Well, we're going to win on Monday. I'm very confident about it as well. What's up, Sham? Thank you very much for your super chat. It says, do you think we would be... Let me get this right. Do you think we would be in this decent position with the good signings with just the Glazers in charge, or would we be worse with them without Ineos, says What's Up, Sham? There was a time last year where I said it on stream. I felt we were better off under the Glazers than we were under Ineos. A year later, I think that's probably an unfair statement. But you know what? I don't change my opinion like the weather about the ownership, and I don't fall for the propaganda around the Ineos ownership. They don't own the football club. What's basically happened is the Glazers have brought a puppet in to front up and be the face of the club. And they're more than happy for Sir Jim Ratcliffe to be the face of the club because they own more than 50% of it. And they will benefit from the positivity around the club. They just sit there in the background making decisions with more than 50%. So I don't look at United as Ineos run or Ineos steering the ship, because behind the scenes, the Glazers steer the ship. Let's not forget, the regeneration project was being discussed in 2017. The plans for the regeneration project were there in 2017. Sir Jim's only been here since 2024. So a lot of what's happening was already being formulated. And it's not lost on anybody that the Glazers are more than intelligent enough to use somebody as a front to protect them. And Sir Jim's been very good at that. They're good people, remember. What was it he said? They're good people. They only have the best interests of Man United at their heart. In says, Cunha came off at half-time in the Brazil versus Tunisia game a couple of days ago. Maybe he picked up a knock during the game. I really hope that there is no issue with Cunha. I know he didn't play particularly well against Spurs, but it does start to hurt you when you're having to start subs and then you're having inexperienced players on the bench. Even if we get midfielder in January, Bruno will still play next to him and it won't solve those many problems. Play him at 10 or bench him. That's the way, says Ashi. I mean, look, on Mainoo, we know he's very close to a return. I mean, imagine if Bruno played at number 10 against Everton and we had Mainoo in the midfield. That would be exciting, certainly. I mean, I don't know whether we're going to get that, but it would. Do Amorim outers still want Iraola? That's from Kia. This could be question of the night. This could be comment of the night, opening up a debate. This is what it's all about on the 8 o'clock shows. Do Amorim outers still exist? I know I could shout a few names out for you from this chat, from ex-players, the media, whatever. There's plenty of them there that were after Grimsby saying sack him now. They look a little bit foolish. They're not saying sack him now, are they? But I don't even know if there is a Glazer. There is hopefully a Glazer out movement. I don't even know if there is an Amorim out movement anymore. I haven't really heard anybody saying anything. I think the international break came at a good time. Even I was frustrated after the Spurs game. Our last 2 performances have not been very good, by the way. I don't think we played well against Spurs, even in the first half. And I don't think we played well against Forest, even in the first half. And the second half was terrible. So our last 2 games, we drew. We were very lucky to get a win, get a draw against Spurs. I mean, literally in the last minute. So the last 2 games weren't great, but they weren't losses. And we'd won the 3 previous to that. So it's 5 games unbeaten. And then you get a 2-week international break. And it sort of provides a bit of a reset, doesn't it? So yeah, I don't know. I never really hear anybody saying anything about Amorim out at the moment. I mean, they'll be back the minute we lose a game. Hopefully that's not going to happen anytime soon. But it's interesting what Jamie Carragher said. I've seen a few people talking about that today, that Carragher said Amorim wouldn't make it till Christmas. And at the time, I was a bit concerned. Certainly. Especially after the last international break, when you're going to Liverpool away, you know, I thought that was definitely going to be a loss which piles up the pressure. Funnily enough, it looks like Slot might not make it till Christmas now. It shows you how quickly football can change. I think what we have seen with Amorim, though, is that you'd be absolutely stunned if he doesn't get the season. And that's what I want. I want a manager to sort of survive as long as possible, because the longer they get, the more chance there is that things will improve. That definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, can become quite tiresome. So I'm hoping that he will improve, but he will get the season. I mean, he's definitely going to be here at Christmas, and if you get to Christmas, why would you not give him till the summer? I just don't want to. It was interesting today. I was watching the Liverpool game on That's Football, and we've got the live chat, and there's a few Liverpool fans in there going, surely we need to be thinking about sacking him. And it just reminded me of what it was like for us. I mean, we've done this 3 times. Mourinho went in December. Ollie came in. Rangnick came in after Ollie in late November, and then obviously we did it with Ten Hag as well, with Amorim. I think it's such a crap time to sack a manager. You know, you've just had the summer. It's not even Christmas. It never really works out that well. And I know Ollie did get the job full time, but ultimately, I don't think that was a very good appointment in hindsight. So I'm really pleased that Amorim has managed to steady the ship, and hopefully we can kick on. But even if it does continue to be a roller coaster of a season, at least if he gets the season and we reassess it in the summer, we can do it in a fair way and go, okay, we finished 6th, we've had up and downs, but we're moving in the right direction. Or we finished 4th, what an amazing season, let's move on. Or we finished 8th, we might need to have a chat. So I think I don't know about anybody else, but I do feel quite relaxed around United at the moment, in the sense that it feels like he's going to get the season now, and we can assess the damage or the success at the end of the season. The performance we are watching does not deserve this confidence. This vertical football is basically Southgate replacing Amorim, says Hader. I think again, another very good comment. Thanks for your super chat. I think this is something that, again, has probably been forgotten. I did do a video at the start of the international break, breaking down the fact that we've had less than 50% of possession in a lot of games this season. We've hit more long balls than anybody else. We are playing very direct football and relying on a decent back 5. Smash and grab. Work for Ollie. I look at this season and I genuinely think it really is just about finding a way to get back into Europe. I saw Ollie Murs, and I can't believe I am quoting Ollie Murs, but he said something along the lines of, Europe would be success for Man United. The Champions League would be good, but Europe in the Europa League or the Conference League would still be a step forward. And I thought, fucking hell, mate. Stick to singing. In fact, don't. Retire. I mean, I don't see the Conference League as a successful season. I don't really see the Europa League as a successful season. Acceptable Europa League. Conference League, I'd rather not be in it. Champions League is what we need. And I think that, you know, that's what we do need to be looking at. But going back to your point about vertical football, look at how Amorim's been scrutinised in relation to formation for so long. I do think that his style of football will be scrutinised. Of course it will, and it already has been. But remember what I said this morning. Casemiro and Bruno for now are fine, but not next season. And winning like this, if it gets us into the Champions League, is fine. But I don't think you can be a Man United manager with 50% possession for the next 3 years. I think that has to evolve. But I think it would evolve with better players. One thing we're really bad at with Bruno and Casemiro in the midfield is retaining the ball. Casemiro wants to get rid of it quickly because he's a bit older and he knows he's going to get pressed. And Bruno wants to get rid of it because he's a Hollywood ball player. So with 2 midfielders that can keep hold of the ball, the possession should go up as well, which alleviates the pressure. Someone sees this... sorry, I'll come back to that one as well. Carlo says, reported United interest in Mocchio. Wow, if you know, you know. Amorim must be watching my career mode, because Mocchio's in my midfield, and so's Stiller. So's Belieber, actually. He's not been a very good signing. Take it as a warning. But yeah, Mocchio's 16 or 17-year-old midfielder at Ajax. Looks very promising. Along the lines of Dorgu, really. You know, he's got a good reputation as a young player, for those in the know. If United had been linked to him, yeah, it wouldn't be a bad player to go and sign as a young player. Emily Derry's back with another super chat. It seemed like we were losing a bit of steam before the international break. Hopefully we kick on a bit now because early January looks tough. Yes and no. I think that the Forest and Spurs games were a little bit disappointing because of the second half, and we replicated the same mistake twice, so we didn't learn. Having said that, Emily, I do think if we'd played Everton the following week, I'd still expect us to win it. I'm not a big fan of international breaks. But what the international break has given us is some perspective to look at the next 10 games and go, let's win at least 8. And that sounds incredible. I know, it sounds incredible. But we should... I know there's going to be a lot of excitement if we do it, because if we win the next 8, I'd expect us to be firmly 4th. Maybe even 3rd. But let me just say again, like, the next 10 games after that, I'm not going to say we're going to win the next 8 after that. I don't expect that. But Everton at home, Palace away. West Ham at home, Wolves away. Bournemouth at home, Villa away. Newcastle at home, Wolves at home. Burnley away, Leeds away. I know 8's a lot, but it's not unachievable on paper. But for the next 10 games, I don't expect us to win 8. We've got City at home, Arsenal away, Fulham at home, Spurs at home, West Ham away, Everton away, Palace at home, Newcastle away, Villa at home. That's a harder, and then Bournemouth at home. So that's a harder set of games. So I just hope that we can hit some momentum now. Thank you very much, Emily. Brian Sanchez, thank you very much for joining the Members Club, getting your badge in. Really appreciate you. Thank you very much for that. Marvin has lost it, says Tariq. What's Marvin said? Someone tell me what Marvin said. I'm trying to find it. Marvin's one of our members. He's having a bit of an argument here. It's in the live chat and I can't see it. I think he's talking about the midfield. Personally, I want success before good football so we can attract better talent and replace our deadwood. Otherwise, good football turns us into Brighton. That is a very intelligent point, Kia. That's what I'm sort of saying. I said it this morning and I'll say it again. Bruno and Casemiro aren't the most exciting midfield, but they are the best midfield. The style of football we're playing isn't the most exciting football, but it's effective. If we can get Champions League football with Bruno and Casemiro in the midfield playing direct football, and then we move them on, and we change our style of play, and we bring better players in, that's fine. That's what short-termism is. If we don't get what we need with short-termism, you'll get... It's like walking on thin ice. If you make it across, everyone goes, amazing. If you fall in, people go, well, you shouldn't have done that. And that's what short-termism is. And I think that's exactly what Amorim's doing. He's going with experienced players for the short term, with a very direct style of play that's simplistic. And the aim is to get top 4 or 5. And if that works, you then build and go to the next stage. Great point, Kia. Practical football sounds a lot like survival ball, says Hader. But in a sense, it is survival ball, isn't it? Because, you know, just over a month ago, Amorim wasn't surviving. He was going to get the sack. Now, he is surviving. And he's surviving by utilising the most effective tools at his disposal. Why do we always act like a constipated guy who fails to make the last push to take a crap? If we're a serious club, we should sign Elliot Anderson, says Mario. I don't think Elliot Anderson is achievable in January. I really don't. I'd love it, and I'd do it, and I'd go for it. He is playing very, very well in a side that looks like it's on the up, who will probably get better in the Europa League on a Thursday night, and he's starting for England, and there's only one international break in March. Does he need to rock the boat? I don't think he does. Perk says, someone sees this as vertical football. I see it as practical football that Amorim is playing to save his skin, and people said he's not adaptable. Exactly. But you know what, actually? You just remind me of the video I did. Some people are trying to pretend that they're not Amorim out now because he's changed his style and that's all they wanted him to do. Trust me. Go and find the video. He hasn't changed anything. We were still hitting loads of long balls in the first 3 games of the season. We were still playing the same way in the first 3 games of the season. We were still topping the charts for chances created in the box in the first 3 games of the season. We haven't actually changed the way we've played this season at all. I think Amorim's plan at the start of the season was to implement a style that would maximise the percentage chance of winning games in the most simplistic way possible that these players can deal with. I think he learned last season a lot of these players don't have the IQ to play the way he did at Sporting. So what he's got to do is gradually bring players in that can do it while still having to utilise those players that can't do it. And in that transition phase, he's got to come up with a play that works for everybody. And I think that's what he's doing. And I think he's been doing it from day one of this season. Thank you very much. Good point, though. Very, very good. Tabis says, I am Amorim out. His blind Bruno selection, his Delo obsession, his kick and run football. Why shouldn't I be Amorim out? Renewing Maguire to a crazy fee, the way he's treated Mainoo. Mate, I've got to say respect. I've got to say respect. There's a lot of people that were very angry with Amorim only a few short weeks ago. And we don't get enough of people like you with the balls to just pop it in there and go. There's a few innuendos tonight and they're not actually on purpose. But with the confidence to put it out there and tell us how you really feel. And you'll probably get a little bit of stick. But I think you're also speaking to some people who don't want to say it. And in democracy and in this community, that sort of comment is very welcome. Not just because it's a super chat, but also because it's right. It's your opinion. It's detailed. And whilst I don't agree with it, you've detailed it in a way that it makes it very difficult for me to say, you're an idiot. I wouldn't call you an idiot anyway, but I mean, I could be more expansive on it. And that's why I love this community, and that's why I love the 8 o'clock shows. And that's why, for me, you're comment of the night, because you're one of the few, when you were one of the majority a few weeks ago, who were still willing to say what loads of people were saying a few weeks ago. And I don't for 1 minute think that those people have flip-flopped. I just think they're doing a watching brief. And why shouldn't you have that opinion? I can't be shocked by it, because a few weeks ago I saw plenty of Amorim out. So why would there not still be those people out there? So look, you detail it out there. His Bruno selection, his Delo obsession, his direct football, renewing Maguire, not using Mainoo. I mean, they're all unarguable points. How would I counter them? Yeah, the Delo obsession has been strange and it didn't work. And he's very lucky it didn't cost him points. The direct football, I think we've covered that. He's playing to his strengths in the short term. Bruno in the midfield, again, he wants somebody who can hit the long transitional ball from midfield, and Bruno is probably the best person to do it. So the risks are outweighed by the positives. Renewing Maguire, my mind changes with Maguire all the time. I understand why they want to keep him around, because he's been through obscurity and he's, shown character. But if he's not fit enough, and this season he's already had 2 injuries, and last season he had a lot of injuries, there's no point giving anybody any money if they're not fit. And why should we make the same mistake we made with Phil Jones? The treatment of Mainoo, look, do I think Mainoo should have been given more minutes? I think it's abysmal that he's playing about half an hour a month. We win on Monday night, we're 4th in the league, which is on track for what many of us thought would be very good for us this season. Obviously, I want to see Mainoo playing, though. Slazy says, every transfer target is available in January. It just depends if we're willing to pay the January tax. The question is, are we? 25 million extra for top 5. Well, I think I can answer that question for you, Slazy. Thanks for your super chat. I think we know the answer to that question. Man United don't like to spend ridiculous money. They don't like to spend in January. And I don't see us going for players that we should be going for in January. As I say, we've seen what I think should be rivals, Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City, go and get first-team players in January. United seem to spin this PR that of a few years ago, that January is a time... In fact, I pretty much remember United saying it at one point. January is a time for desperate signings. It's not. January is a short summer transfer window where you can bring players in that can make a big difference in the short and long term. We definitely could sign Stiller in January. We could make a play to get Stiller in January. We could do it. We won't, but we could. We could try for Anderson. We won't. My personal feeling is we'll sign Baleba, and I'm not happy about it. Today, I'm not happy about it. I think it's a blast from the past to go and buy Baleba on stubbornness and cheapness and availability. There's not going to be a big queue for Baleba in the summer. Liverpool's, Arsenal's, Real Madrid's, they're not going to be there. That will be music to United's ears. The Mainoo argument is boring, says John United. You don't sack a manager for not playing a guy who hasn't performed and clearly wants to leave on loan. Flip side to that coin, John. He wants to leave on loan because the manager won't pick him. Has he been given a fair chance? No. Does he deserve a fair chance? Well, I don't know, considering Dalot's been given loads of chances and played shit. So I don't necessarily think the Mainoo argument washes completely that he wants to leave and he's obviously crap in training, because he wants to leave because he's not getting chances, and people like Dalot get plenty of minutes, play shit and still get loads of chances. So Haider says the favouritism is the worst part. Every holds Mainoo for Grimsby but nothing for Bruno against City or Fulham or Shaw versus Brentford. I think that's what I was trying to say, Haider. In the Mainoo argument, people say, well, he's not putting the work in training, so he doesn't deserve to start. Very, very true, if it's true. But I could give you 6 players this year that have played badly in more than 2 games and still start for United. So what's that if it's not a favouritism? It's very obvious to me that Amorim doesn't trust Mainoo and Agate, because he still trusts players that don't play well and picks them because he does trust them. I'd give Amorim 3 seasons. We don't even have a good starting 11, let alone a good bench. I don't get excited when the subs are made because they're useless, as the Reds stand. Thank you very much. And Brian Sanchez says, why is it United shut down at second half? Fitness issues or players playing in the wrong position and makes others do double the work? I don't know whether you watched it, Brian, so I'll repeat it. De Ligt said in the second half against Spurs they were tired, and it got ridiculed. Even I ridiculed it when I saw it. I was like, how can you be tired? You're only playing 1 game a week. But actually, I think they are getting tired in the second half of games. And I think the reason for it is that you can almost flip a negative into playing 1 game a week, because the bench aren't match fit because there's only 1 game a week. So the bench don't get match fitness. So when you bring them on, there's a massive drop off because they're not match sharp. But it's still the Premier League. And it doesn't matter whether you're playing 2 games a week or 1 game a week. It's the Premier League. And after 60 minutes, you do get tired. So we're in this situation where players are getting tired in the second half because it's the Premier League. And you do get tired in the Premier League in the second half. And you can't make the subs effective because the subs aren't match sharp. So I think that's why we're going wrong in the second half. Because he's having to rely on the starting 11 who do naturally tire in a 90-minute competitive game, but his bench aren't up to match sharpness to come on and help. And if you look at teams like Brighton and Crystal Palace, who are, not only playing 1 game a week as well, they've got smaller squads, so everyone gets more minutes, and they have better match sharpness. And if you look at the teams that are playing 2 games a week, they rotate their squads better, so they're sharp as well. So we're not really taking advantage of this 1 game a week at the moment because we're not rotating the starting 11 enough to keep them all fit, which is difficult with 1 game a week. We've got a Europa League squad without Europe, and we can't keep everybody sharp. So we're overusing the first 11, who do then naturally get tired in the second half. Ihastad, thank you very much. Welcome to the Members Club. Thanks for getting your badge in. Anas says, Amorim needs to get the intensity right from the start against Everton. No more slow starts and hoping to come back from behind. The players need to be at it from minute 1. I think we've been very good at home. I know it sounds confident, and I knew when I said easy win on the preview thumbnail, there was a question mark there that some people would go. I was reading the comments, I was laughing this morning. People were going, what's bro saying easy win for? Oh, I'm clipping this. But hold on a minute. What did I actually say in the preview? The thumbnail says easy win. right? Of course, if we don't win, people will go, ha ha, hold that. Absolutely fine. But it's a preview. It's opinion. I am allowed to say I think it will be an easy win. It doesn't mean I'm jinxing it. It's like saying I think we'll get beat, or I think it will be a bore draw. I think it will be a straightforward win for Manchester United against Everton. Not because I'm delusional, because I think it will be. I genuinely do think it will be. And I think we've been very good at home this season. Apart from Arsenal, where we did actually play well, I think we've been good at home. I think we're a different team at home. I think away from home you can cause us problems, but at home I think we're a good side. Don't you think we should be buying another scouting team? This is Red Stand. I don't think things are perfect on our recruitment, but I think they are better. Isn't Amorim in a better position to pick his team than us? Says Eristad. Well, well, as the manager of Manchester United, he's in a better position because he's the manager of Manchester United. But I don't think there's a manager in football history that doesn't get scrutinised by the fans. Otherwise, we may as well fuck off and go and let them earn no money and no one would watch them. So I don't know whether that statement is about telling us all to shut up and just trust the manager. But I would say do one. The brilliance of football is that we've all got an opinion. The only opinion that matters is the manager, but how many managers get sacked for making mistakes? It'd be a very boring world if we just went, oh, leave it to Amorim, that's fine. This is what football's all about. Since we often end up capitulating in the second half, why don't we bring on Mainoo to retain possession and alleviate the pressure? Says Manny. Because he's bloody miles off it when we bring him on. Like Agate against Spurs, miles off it. They're just not sharp enough. Xerxes, miles off it. EA Don says saying an easy win is diabolical. Well, mate, I'm allowed to give a prediction. The prediction is based upon the fact I don't think Everton are that good away from home. They don't score that many goals. We've been very good at home. We do create a lot of chances, and we beat them 4-0 last year. So I'm predicting a 3-0 win, which is a straightforward win. I know what the Premier League is, and I know you've got to respect it. But I expect a comfortable win on Monday. That's my prediction. Crystal Palace at the weekend, I think it will be tight. I think it'll be close. If you want a spoiler for Palace, but Everton at home, I think this is a win, and I think it's a goal difference boosting win as well. I might not be right, but that's what I'm going for. Xerxes has got to get a run in the team, says Josh. He might do now. Maybe he will. Will you take Ivan Toney, says Sanchit. I don't know enough about Ivan Toney to know what he's like in relation to whether he's a disruptor in the dressing room or not. I've heard stuff about it. I don't actually know the answer to that. What I would say is that a player like Toney coming into this team might get us 10 goals between January and the end of the season, which I'm sure would help us get top 5. So I'd take Toney over nothing. Yeah, definitely. I think that's a fair answer. A few people asking about Cunha. We don't have anything other than the fact that he was meant to turn the Christmas lights on in Altrincham. They put a statement out saying he couldn't attend because of a training ground injury. And that's where we're at with it at the moment. United haven't commented yet. Welcome back to Paul Pogba tonight, by the way. Played football. Be interesting to see how he gets on doing that. A bit of breaking news coming out as well around oh no, that's about Arsenal. Not interested in them. Yeah. I'm glad Pogba's back playing. I think it was right that he left United. I know some people really didn't like him. I always liked Pogba. I just think, multiple long conversations about why it went wrong, but I'm glad he's back playing football. If he's got the hunger to do it, then, why not at the end of the day? Why not? Jackson, thank you. Welcome to the Members Club. You're an absolute legend. Thanks for getting your badge in. And he's gifted 5 memberships as well, which makes you... I called you a legend already. Now you're a double legend. Absolute legend. Thank you. Xerxes time, says Eugene. It'd be nice to see Xerxes come in and do quite well. But if you want my honest assessment on this, it's just a long goodbye. Xerxes gone from United. Again, he's clearly another player that Amorim doesn't trust. He might have to use him. He'd probably do quite a good job. But I would always point to the fact that he's not really part of his plans. And if he can come in and do a job in the short term, that's fine. But I'll be very honest, I'm already starting to think of life at United beyond Xerxes. I know he gets on with players, I know he's, popular, and I quite like him as a player, but he's not really part of our future plans. I don't expect a glow up or a return or anything like that. However, I think over the next few weeks, he might get a chance. Let's see how he goes. Jaco says, if only one player stays for the rebuild, who should it be? Mate, we need more than one of these players has to stay for the rebuild. You've got Lemens, you've got Ahmad, you've got Dorgu, you've got De Ligt, you've got Yoro, Mazraoui. I'll leave the midfield. You've got Cunha, you've got Mbeumo, you've got Sesko, Martinez, hopefully. There's a lot of players that need to be part of this rebuild. If I had to pick one player that symbolises this rebuild at the moment, I think De Ligt's really important in the defence. I think Yoro's really important for the future. I think Mbeumo and Cunha are very important for the leadership of the attack. And even then, you've got the keeper, Dorgu, Sesko, who need to grow as well. So I think we have players for the rebuild. The problem is the midfield, isn't it? There's no one in the midfield at the moment that's part of our rebuild. Bruno's not. Casemiro's not. And because of Amorim, at the moment, Agate and Mainoo aren't. And you can't win games. You can't win titles without a midfield. And that's where we need to be rebuilding big time. Gav says, in relation to Xerxes, if he doesn't use him, let him go. I think he will use him over the next few weeks. And if he uses him over the next few weeks, let's use him for the rest of the season and then do something in the summer. But if we let Xerxes go in January, we've got to replace him in January. I don't see that happening. I think the most important thing in January is to bring a midfielder in and let Mainoo go. If you're not going to use Mainoo, you've got to let him go and bring a midfielder in. Xerxes, for me, I'd keep for the season. If he's comfortable to do that. Anyway, brilliant show tonight. Really enjoyed it. Saturday Night Live. Lovely stuff. I'm back with you a little bit earlier tomorrow because Seb's got a football match. So it won't be a 10 a.m. show. I'll have to look at the time for the kickoff of the match. But I feel it's 11. So I might have to do the show at 9. I'll try and push it back as late as I can. But I think it's going to be a 9 a.m. show tomorrow. Thanks everyone for watching. There is an 8 o'clock show tomorrow as well. 8 o'clock shows are back up and running. Make sure you smash a like and subscribe. If you didn't watch live, leave your comments in. Lots to discuss. And I'll speak to you on the next one. Take care.